just your average everyday trucker, keeping it real. I'm your host, Chris Blodgett, and you're listening to Real Talk Tuesday. This week's topic is going to be the squeaky wheel. This is episode 158. Hey guys, welcome back. As always, appreciate you being here. The inspiration for this week's topic of discussion comes from the still ongoing situation with the movie company. I've basically been continuing to be the squeaky wheel, emailing not necessarily every day, but at least a few times a week. There's some times where I'll email several days in a row. About a week ago, a little over a week ago, I was emailing daily because I wasn't getting any replies. Basically, I was just sending yet another email each day saying I'm still trying to get such and such information. We're not just, basically, and I start, I keep reiterating. You know, it is when you're tired, you're trying to talk, and it's like, man, I can't get my mouth to cooperate with you. It's like, come on, loosen the tongue up. Come on, man. But it's like where you know what you want to say, but then you try to say it, and it comes out all like slurred. You're like, man, I promise I'm not drunk. It's like that's like dealing with at home with my wife. We had a little bit of a fight a week or so back because she would constantly refer to me, and she would do it jokingly. I mean, she would laugh when she did it, I knew she didn't mean anything by it as far as like trying to like piss me off or whatever, but she, when you're tired, you're a little more of a klutz, like you might trip a little bit easier and like fall and hurt yourself, or something might slip out of your hands or whatever. And so my wife, being playful or whatever, especially around other people, she'd be like, "Oh, my bowl in a China shop husband." And so, most of the time I just like laugh, okay, whatever. But then she, I think at one point, I was putting up the curtains, the blackout curtains in our bedroom, like a few days before I was going to start running out of the FedEx hub up here in Kansas City, because I knew that I was going to be starting work at like midnight, 1:30, 2 a.m. And so I was putting up blackout curtains so that I could sleep, as best as possible during the daytime. And I was putting, I think, let's see, actually, I wasn't even putting up the curtains. I had already put up the curtain, put up the curtain rods, put up the curtains. But part of the blinds, because we've got wooden blinds in our house. And so there's this little panel that's on the top part of the blinds. Sorry for the brief pause there. It's like I had a car coming at me. They left their brights on, so of course I got within a couple feet of them and I flipped my brights back on to basically be like, F you. It's like, I don't normally do that, but courtesy, basically it's nice to be courteous of other drivers. Like if you're anytime you're approaching other cars on the road, turn your brights off, turn them down to normal, so that way you're not blinding the other driver. But some cars just leave them on, so it's like, all right, I'll blind you too if you're gonna blind me. So, but our wooden blinds, they have this panel on the very top. I'm not sure what the purpose of it is, because it literally just clips into place. I don't see what purpose it has, where it is, But I was messing with the curtain, and it was the top part of the curtain. I was trying to adjust it, and I guess I must have moved that panel, and it of course came off and fell on the ground. So, and actually the little clips that clip it up there, those fell off on the ground too. And of course I was working to get those, trying to figure out how to put those back on the panel so I could clip that back into place. And my wife was laying in bed. She made this comment like, why do you call Bug in here? I was like, why? She was so she could try to handle that because you're I don't want just so you don't break it. And I'm like, why do you think I'm gonna break it? She was, well, because you're kind of a bull in a China shop, love. And I was like, would you knock that the fuck off? She's like, what the hell is your problem? I was like, love, I understand that most of the time you're joking, but it's kind of pissing me off, honestly. Because if I have broken stuff or whatever, it's never been on purpose. So I'd kind of appreciate it if you would quit calling me that. You don't have to be such a dick. I'm like, you're the one calling me a bull in the China shop every time. I was like, why don't you back the fuck off, and I won't, I won't have to defend myself, get defensive. And he's like, because I was tired. I was extremely tired at that point, and it pushed that button, and it was a little bit too much. Like usually, most of the time, especially if I'm rested, you feel okay. It's pretty easy to just let something roll off you, and just say whatever and walk away. But that night when she said it, it literally just pushed me enough to where I literally was like, I snapped at her. Like, will you shut the fuck up? I didn't say that to her, but I was like, love, will you, I don't even remember exactly what I said, but it basically was like, love, will you cut that the fuck out? Will you stop saying that? What are you talking about? Why are you being a dick? I'm not being a dick. I'm like, you're the one that keeps referring me to that. It is kind of offensive. It's not just a once in a while thing. You're like, well, my husband's a bull in a China shop. Okay, whatever, like, you're lucky that I love you, because otherwise I would kind of, tell you to fuck off right now. I didn't, and so, literally, and then, of course, while we're having this argument, literally, I'm like, I get these two little plastic pieces, I figure out how to get them back on the little panel, and I literally hold it out to her to show her, I'm like, see, I didn't need to call Zoe here. I was able to figure it out, okay, I'm sorry, jeez. I was like, all right, well, how would you feel if I kept calling you something, all the time in front of everybody else? And then, and then you're trying to do something, I'm like, well, maybe you should have someone else do that, because, you might break it. I'm like, come on now, have a little faith in your spouse a little bit, jeez. So yeah, got that back in place, and then as far as the current topic, basically I've been emailing quite a bit. Basically, because they sent me, and I think I mentioned this in previous episodes, but they sent me the height and I believe the length of the truck that they supposedly used. Because they did a height and length of a truck, but I could easily, I thought about it afterwards, like within the next week or so. I thought, yeah, but I could argue that I don't know if that's the same truck that they picked up, that they loaded, that they picked our stuff up. I can say that could be a different truck. Like, how do I know that's the same truck? Like, I don't have, there's no photo evidence of the fact that our stuff was ever in that truck. So, so the emails that I had for the next week, I was basically saying, do you have the width? You know, because you gave me the height and the length. Do you have the width? Because basically that way I said for my records, because you know, in which they never provided those. Just like, just like at one point after fighting with them on the phone, and then Planet Movers actually calling me and be like, well, we'll try to see what we can do. We'll try to get you a deal. So that way we just unlock your storage and come down and get it. And I'm like, all right, you know, because they were trying to say like almost $7,000, like $6,500, just for us to come get our stuff. I'm like, what? I was like, if we're paying that much, might as well just pay the full amount and have you guys, you know, deliver, and then maybe figure out a court case against you, you know. But after the last time of getting them on the phone, which it's been a couple weeks at least, I emailed them back again, and I gave them my Google Voice number, the one that I use when I record the phone calls for the Raw Chat episodes. And I basically said, from here on out, I need you guys to call me on this line, because I'm giving you notice. Any future phone calls from here on out are going to be recorded. And I haven't gotten a phone call since. That's probably because we want to call these recording stuff now. So I'm like, well, we're emailing, and that's still documentation. Like, I'm literally forwarding the emails to the Attorney General, and, you know, basically keeping records of all of them, because, you know, emails, it's literally a written documentation. So it's like, phone calls, they can call and try to say whatever on the phone, and then basically if it's not recorded, they can say I never said that. But so I had sent those emails, and then after emailing them for like 4 or 5 days in a row, I got an email. It was a Friday, actually. I got an email directly from Planet Movers, basically saying, Mr. Blodgett, this is Mo with Planet Movers. Let's resolve this. And I'm just kind of throwing a voice out there. I don't know if that's what it sounds like. I would imagine, since they looked more like they're like, I'm not sure. I'm trying to, because they were foreign for sure, but they, I would say they kind of looked Arab or Muslim or something, you know, maybe Hispanic. I don't know. I don't think Hispanic, because they, you know, but like, Mr. Blodgett, Mr. Blodgett, just, what can we do for you, sir? What can we do for you? I'm not going to do anything to help you, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, you know, but I don't know. But there was definitely a little bit of a language barrier. They weren't exactly very clear in English, you know. So communicating with them, there's several times I had to be like, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said, or I didn't quite catch that. Can you repeat that? But Mr. Blodgett, let's resolve this. We'll offer you, we will offer you a 50% discount. For $4,200, we'll settle for $4,200, and or 4,200 USD, and we will unlock your storage and release it in your name, and you can come down and get your stuff. I was like, so I replied back. I was like, well, like I'm working now, so I can't just take time off. I offered to do this a month ago when we first got here, and you guys basically still wanted $7,000. Is it possible that you guys would be willing to transport it up this way for that amount? And we'll pay to have our own, like someone else up here, to offload it ourselves instead, so that way your drivers don't have to do anything. Let's literally load the truck, transport it up here, and then we'll offload it. And they basically replied with, no, sorry, we could not. Okay, well, so I forwarded that email to the Attorney General, and then I found some stuff online when I was Google searching, which basically says that yes, the estimate for a move can change or can get higher on the day of the move, but what's supposed to happen is if it's going to cost more than what the initial estimate was, they're supposed to inform you of that before any of your stuff is loaded on the truck. That did not happen with us. That happened like literally like, plus there's a whole argument that my mother-in-law doesn't quite understand as far as like she's confused. She's like, it's confusing. You keep talking about half truck, full truck, blah blah blah. We're like, well, because that's literally the story right now. That's like we were supposed to get a full 26 footer. They claim they have a 30 foot or longer truck, but they only loaded it halfway, and so we only had like 15 feet. If it is a 30 foot truck, which there's still debate on that. Everybody I talked to is like, no, it's probably a 26 footer or 28, but probably a 26. So, again, sat another car, just left their brights on. So it's like, I'll get within 10 feet and I'll put my brights back on. And probably piss them off, but it's like, look, if you're not going to lower your beams down, I'm going to blind you the last few seconds before I pass you. It's only fair. So, I took a screenshot of that what I found on Google about that if there is a price increase, they're supposed to let you know ahead of time, because I explained when emailing back and forth with Starline Van Lines, they of course said, yeah, like, we understand your concern, Mr. Blodgett, and we thank you for your continued communication. But they, of course, they're like, well, we have a few points to make. Like, one, obviously, like, you signed the paperwork, you agreed to the charges, whether it was done ahead of time or done in the middle of it, you agreed to it. And I'm like, I agreed to it because half the truck was already loaded with our stuff, and I figured at that point, I mean, we had to get out of there. But I figured at that point that if I try to be like, look, we can't afford this, go ahead and like offload our stuff, even if you just leave it in front of the apartment, we'll figure it out, just offload it. And they would probably be like, well, knowing them, because since they're trying to charge me $4,200 just for us to come down and get it, even though they haven't even left Tennessee, still bullshit, because it's like, if you guys came to Missouri, that's literally what I argued with Starline. I was like, if they had transported our stuff up here to this state and it was in storage up here, and we were basically going to get it there, at least they had driven it, like it had gone the miles it was supposed to go into the state before it went to storage, but they took it 2 hours away from Nashville and then like stored it somewhere. So it's like, if I'm literally doing the job that we hired them to do, then they should not be, they're not entitled to much of anything payment wise, because we're literally having to come back there and do it ourselves. And so part of what Starline had argued was, well, it went to storage because the move was delayed, and you agreed to the charges, blah, blah, blah. And so when I replied back, I was like, because I basically had said in the previous email was like, so right now, as I understand it, our two options are $4,200 for us to get it ourselves, or $8,500 for us to have them go ahead and complete the move. And based part of their email, and their first point is this, second point is this, third, you're correct. Your two options are this. You got $4,200 for you to come get it, or $8,500 for you to have them do it themselves, for them to actually complete it. And I replied back. I was like, well, first of all, a few points I want to make in reply to your email is, one, it was not stored because of a delay in the move. Like, they literally, before they came back trying to get the other third of our household, and we already had our U-Haul at that point. They had taken our stuff to storage that morning when they left our place. Like, there was not a, we told them, I think we were like, why'd you take it to storage? Like, our moving at the new place is tomorrow. Like, why, oh, well, we don't know. Like, we were told to take it to storage. Well, that's stupid. Like, what the hell? That was a dumb move. So I was like, so they put it in storage right off the bat. They didn't even, there was not even even though we told them we were going straight to Missouri. And two, as far as I was like, yes, they got me to sign stuff under duress, but they had me do it in the middle of the stuff. Like there was no change in price ahead of time. It was, I got most of your stuff loaded. Oh, now or got half your stuff loaded. Oh, now it's actually gonna be this much because you've already used all your space, which everybody I talked to about it, it's kind of like, that doesn't make sense. So I actually ended up talking to, because I've got some movie quotes. Because I've been looking online since they claim that their truck is a 30-foot truck, and I'm like, well, if I get a 26-footer from U-Haul, will I even have enough room to get all our stuff if we come down there for it? You know, and you know, I can't find, like, literally you cannot find any bigger truck than 26-footer unless you go to a semi. Supposedly you can buy box trucks at auction that are like 30 feet, according to Planet Movers, and I have found Google where it says, yeah, it might be, yes, it might, you know, when you type in a search on Google, like, can I do such and such? Or is it possible to find, to buy a box truck at auction that's 30 foot? And of course, Google says, yes, it might be possible to actually get a longer truck at auction. So I'm like, okay, well, and they can't send me any specs or anything. All they sent me was this, like a recording on this app on their phone that supposedly measured the length, and it did get to 30 feet and like 1 inch or whatever. But I don't know if they measured from the very front of the truck or if they measured the box, like the cargo area. Because like, okay, you showed me something that was 30 feet, but how do I know that that was the cargo area, or if that was something else? You know. So I've been researching moving companies, trying to find out if we were to go down there ourselves, what would be the best way to do it? Rent a truck, go down there ourselves, schedule a couple movers through the link that U-Haul gives you, where we hired people to unload our U-Haul here, which is, I'm gonna probably, especially if we're driving our own truck, probably gonna go that route if we move, and you know, hire these movers to basically just help you offload or whatever. But down there, I'd hire them to help us load the truck, because that way you're not having to kill your back. You know, you just basically show up, you get loaded, you close it up, put a lock on the back, take off. So I'm trying to look at options on what would be the best, way to go about it, you know. And so I've been looking at moving companies as well, trying to be like, well, I wonder if we could find a cheap enough moving company that's legit that we could just meet at the storage place, and you know, they could basically just load our stuff up in their truck straight from storage and then bring it up here, and then they'll help us offload up here. I talked to this guy, I didn't remember what company he's with, but I'm very hesitant now. You just got to be really careful now with it. You know, I'll keep saying this till blue in the face. If you guys are planning to move, be really careful. Don't just, especially if you like, you got to look out for any of them that say we'll give you a free estimate over the phone. Look at main companies like United Van Lines, William Atlas. There's a handful of them. Like, if they've been around for 20 years and they're actually the ones that are moving you, and they're not like, hey, we connect you with other companies. Yeah, stay away from that. Because yeah, they're gonna be like what Starline did with us. Like, Starline acted like they were the ones that I was dealing with, and then they connected us with Planet Movers, and here we are. You know, we're still, who knows how long we're gonna be fighting to get our stuff back, but just be really careful. So like, so I was talking, so I called, or I got this, I got a call from this guy after I was requesting some quotes or whatever. Hey, this is James, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Like, hey, how you doing, sir? He goes, I'm good. So I'm curious. I'm just trying to find out, get some information on your upcoming move. And I said, actually, as an interesting story for you, we've technically already moved, but our stuff is still back in Tennessee in storage because I told them the whole rundown. We hired a moving company called Starline Van Lines. They connected us with Planet Movers. We had one estimate that went up a few days before the move because I did an actual walkthrough on the phone with somebody and gave her more of a specific inventory list. Like, we have this, we have that, we have this bookshelf, that bookshelf, this armoire, this entertainment center, this many boxes in here, and then our estimate went up to like $7,500 for a full 26-foot truck. I was like, but then, of course, right off the bat, he's like, oh crap, oh yeah, like I know where this is going. He goes, I've had so many of these stories already, because it's really, really bad during the summer because a lot of these supposed companies pop up, like they literally open up during the summer, and basically that's what they do. They open up, they schedule moves, and they go and they load people's stuff up, but then they change it halfway through, and basically that's how they make their money because they hold people's stuff in storage until the bill is paid, and then people get their stuff back, but they overpay on their stuff. I was like, oh yeah, well, knowing what I know now, it's like obviously, like I wish I knew this back then because I probably would have scheduled. He goes, yeah, he probably pressured you to schedule, right? And I was like, yeah, pretty kind of. The guy I talked to initially, the reservation, I said like, hey, you mind if I take a couple days to talk to my wife? And he basically told me like, well, I mean, yeah, that's fine, but the total estimate might actually go up before then because as we get closer to moving season, whatever. And I was like, okay, well, all right, well, let's go ahead and pay the deposit, whatever. Pay the first half of the bill. So, but I actually, the guy I was talking to today kind of gave me his email address, his business email address. So I was like, well, he's like, do you have those invoices? Can you forward them to me so I can see them? Because I'm gonna talk to my boss over here too and let you know if what you might be able to do, or if maybe we can help you too. And I was like, all right, So I was like, here, what's your email? So I emailed him like the initial estimate I had, the $7,500, and then I emailed him the one that they recently sent that shows the $12,400 because of you used half the truck and that was all you were allotted, blah blah blah. And he's like, yeah, that doesn't make sense because they probably only had a 26-footer, which means if you only use one truck, you probably only use 26 feet. So you should have gone. It should have been that initial estimate. I was like, yeah, that's what we're thinking, but they swear it was a 30-foot truck, and then that it was just it's that much bigger, blah blah blah. Like I wish I was more alert, coherent when I was dealing with him the day we were trying to get out of there because I tried to find him, but I'd been up all day. I was tired as hell, been on my feet all day. Was really just anxious to get out of there, and yet here we'd been dealing with him all day, and it was like, oh no sir, it's you have a lot of stuff, sir. You have a lot of stuff. Like this truck, it's because it's actually longer than the 26-footer, and so it's double the cubic feet, and so that's why you only got half the truck loaded because that's the total cubic feet you're allotted. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, that still doesn't compute with me because like a couple extra feet in length should not be I'm only loaded halfway and I'm done. It should still be you're loaded 26 feet. You still got 26 feet of the truck loaded, and then you're being charged whatever for the extra footage. But that's not what happened. It was halfway loaded, and then they basically went from 7,500 to 12,500 for to do the rest. And it was like, okay. And then they did the rest of the truck, and they didn't even get the rest of our stuff, even though they claimed, when I went ahead and said, okay, fine, we'll figure it out. Let's go ahead and do it. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna take the rest of it's gonna go. We're gonna get the rest of it in there, and then they still had a third of our stuff in, that was still in the apartment. But they're like, yeah, well, that's all the space we have. That's the last piece. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That's the last piece. We don't have any more room. And I'm like, sir, you told me that we you're gonna take everything. You told me that everything else is gonna go. Well, I know, but that's the last part that fits. Shit. And again, I thought, well, I can't have you guys offload it now because you guys will try to charge me. You know, so it's like, huh. Honestly, I think it was a waste of resources for them to. I don't understand the whole. We're gonna go load up a household into a truck, but then we're gonna bring it to a warehouse, and we're gonna offload everything from the truck into a storage area. So then at a later date, load it back onto a truck to deliver. It's like, really, guys? Like, why would you want to do that? Like, I would totally focus on like direct moves, which is what this is supposed to be. It was supposed to be, you know, them loading it up from the apartment, transporting it to Missouri up here, and then unloading it into our house. But they loaded it up. They told us we'll see you in 48 hours, but then they left. And then an hour later, I was getting a call from Starline saying, yeah, they want $4,200 before they'll even leave Tennessee with your stuff. And I'm like, they were telling me $2,000 last night. He goes, well, I'm sorry, sir, this is not negotiable. Well, they were negotiating with me last night. What happened since? Well, sir, I don't know. That's just, you know, I was like, can I talk to your manager? Like, can I talk to somebody over there? He's like, no, nobody's available over there. Well, then who are you talking to then? Oh, I got their personal cell. I'm like, okay, well then tell them I want to talk to them. Okay, I'll do that, but I can't promise that they'll get in touch with you. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You know, I wouldn't doubt if Starline and Planet Movers are the same company. You know, it's like, you know, one, I don't know, maybe one company either started as a broker and then opened up Planet Movers as their moving source or whatever, or Planet Movers open up Starline as their broker, you know, so they can technically, you know, claim that, well, that's Starline, you gotta deal with that. It's like, so I was telling him kind of what the offer was. Then we got the 4,200 offer, and the guy today was telling me, he's like, yeah, like, I wouldn't pay the full price. Like, they will most likely settle with you because they, you know, they don't want to just hold on to that stuff and not get paid and have that basically taking up space in their storage so that they can use for other shipments. So they would probably won't be more likely to settle with you. He goes, I would offer them like 2,500. I said, they're probably not going to do it, but I mean, I'll push for it. One of the emails I sent to Starline, I did say that if we were the ones to basically go down there and get our stuff, that Planet Movers should really come down from that 42. Because, like, if we're having to come all the way down there and basically do the job we hired them to do, then we shouldn't have to pay them anything more than the $3,500 that they've already gotten. That's basically what I'm gonna be pushing. I'm gonna be like, look, like, we're willing to come down there and get it, but you guys need to come down. I'm even gonna lowball it. I'll be like, well, how about $1,500? Like, we'll pay you guys $1,500 and a cashier's check when we show up there. We'll give it to you in person. You guys can unlock it and give us access to it. We'll get our stuff out of there right then. They'll probably come back. Nope, can't go lower than 42. That's not gonna work. Like, if you guys want to resolve this, you guys are gonna have to come down. We'll go up to 2. How about 2,000? You know, because we're gonna have to like take time off of work and hire people to come out there and help us out to load it. You know, so like if you guys unless you guys are gonna help us load our truck, then like you've already been paid for materials and labor. So we need to like have this be a realistic number. So I'm either gonna go that route, try to see if I can talk them down the 4,200 down talk that down even cheaper so that we can go down and get our stuff ourselves, or I'm gonna try to figure or my plan is I might try to figure out how to get the 8,500 paid, get them to come out here with our stuff, deliver, and then file a lawsuit court case against them to basically get reimbursed a good percentage of that funds, at least the remaining 5,000, and say that you know that argued the length of the truck, that it's probably a 26-footer. They couldn't provide any evidence showing that it was actually 30 feet. They didn't load us 26 feet before they stopped. They loaded us 15 feet, you know, and argue the, because when I mentioned with the guy I was talking to today, he had asked, he comes back after talking to me, he said, hold on a second, I'm going to talk to my boss really quick, I'm going to put you on hold. He comes back, did you sign any additional paperwork with the additional invoices? I said, yeah, I did, but it was in the middle of the work. He goes, well, unfortunately, even though, yeah, they should have told you beforehand, but since you signed it, you probably can't do anything right now. He goes, you definitely have a case, you know, to take it to court or whatever, but right now, you can't really argue anything that they have your stuff legally because you signed stuff agreeing to that right now. He goes, but since they did it, you know, while your stuff was already on the truck, you have a legal case against them. You can go back and argue that that rate shouldn't have gone up because they had already loaded us. Like, it should have been, well, you've already agreed to this price. This is what we're going to honor. And I was like, well, every time they had me fill out more crap, here's an updated invoice, updated inventory. You know, we're putting making a list of all the items, you know, being loaded on the truck and blah blah blah. And you know, I had to fill out the pickup location, delivery location every single time. And I'm like, this is like pretty tedious. I mean, talking like 10 pages where every page I had to put pickup location, delivery location, name, phone number, signature, blah blah blah. And for like every page, I'm like, I was like, why not have like one page that has the pickup, delivery, name, address, or name, phone number, signature, etc. And you know, like that should be sufficient. But it was like every page I had to fill out the same thing, and I was like, when they had me sign the last one, like after we basically sent them away because we already had the U-Haul, I should have refused. You know, I should have been like, I've already signed multiple things for you. I shouldn't have to sign anything else. Like, you haven't done anything since this morning. I'm not signing that. Like, you've already got my signature on whatever else you. So it's probably them being like, well, they're being dicks. They're not letting us complete the move. So we're gonna like not give them any kind of deals financially. We're gonna demand everything. And I'm like, well, you can, but like if we don't have it, you're not gonna get it. You can't get blood out of a turnip. So it's like, you can try to get 12,000 out of us, but you know, you ain't gonna. You're not gonna. You know, not very easily anyway. So especially when you have money put aside to like help you move, it's like pay for gas, pay for hotels on the way there, and then all of a sudden like you get this big ass bill because like your estimate actually went up. It's like, well, crap. Like, how the hell are we gonna move? Because like everything I have is gonna go to the freaking moving company. And so I did what I could, but you know, like paying $2,000 up front was realistic. You know, $2,000 at pickup and $2,000 at delivery. I was like, all right, we can do that. It's gonna be a little tight, but we can still do that. But then they wanted 4,000 or 4,200 and 4,200. It was like, I can't pay that right now. Can we still do $2,000 at pickup, and then we'll figure out the rest at delivery? They're like, yeah, that's fine. We'll help you out. We'll work with you. And then all of a sudden, an hour after they left, you know, once we sent them away because we had U-Haul, an hour later we got a phone call from them, or from Starline customer service, basically like, well, unfortunately, they got your stuff in storage, and you can pay $4,200. They need that pickup charge before they'll even transport your stuff. And I'm like, but they told me $2,000 last night. Well, sir, unfortunately, it's $4,200 now. That's where they're at. I'm like, but if like they're a business, and if they, you know, usually your business, and when you're, you know, dealing with a company, usually the company, their word is their bond. They tell you one thing, they're gonna usually honor that. I was like, so you're telling me he told me that last night only to basically say, haha, F you. He goes, oh, I'm so sorry you feel that way, sir, but unfortunately this is where they're at. It's not negotiable. And I'm like, well, they were negotiating last night. But well, I'm sorry, unfortunately there's nothing I can do. Like, I tried to come back. Well, would they, you know, I was like, well, what about 1,000? Can I pay 1,000? You know, or I've paid 3,500. Can I pay 1,000? That'll put it at 45. And he goes, well, the $3,500 was just for scheduling the appointment. That has nothing to do with pickup charge and delivery charge. I'm like, it sure does, because I didn't pay $3,500 just for an appointment. We put $3,500 down as a deposit towards the total amount, and there was supposed to be $2,000 and $2,000, but now you're telling me it's a lot different. Well, I'm so sorry, sir. So sorry. Okay, well, you know. So after dealing with the guy today, which I appreciate, so I got his email. I appreciate that he gave me some advice as far as like after looking at the invoices. So after looking at the invoices, he told me, you know, he's like, well, like I would recommend, like they'll settle with you. I believe they'll settle. You just gotta offer them $2,500. He goes, because a lot of these that open up like this, they don't want to get too many bad reviews because then they'll get shut down. So I was like, I haven't reported them to the FMCSA yet, or to the Better Business Bureau, even though that's one of my next moves. I said I haven't done small claims court because I want to make sure I'll kind of like to get our stuff first before I file a court case against them, because I want to make sure that we get our stuff. I said we have things that mean a lot to our family, and I'm kind of like. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, that totally makes sense. I totally understand that. He's like, he's like, yeah, just try to negotiate with them, try to talk them down, try to make an offer like $2,000, $2,500, something like that. Get your stuff and then file a court case, because you definitely have a case that they upped your price in the middle of the service or whatever. So honestly, if I could get him down to like $2,000 or something, I don't know if I would come after him for anything in a legal case. I'd probably just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna walk away. I'm just not gonna deal with him. I would probably still report him online, but I don't know if I would file a court case against him. But if I paid the full amounts, then I probably would. Come after him. I would even try to get like the full amount back. Like if I paid $8,500, I'd probably come after him for like $75. File a court case and say that, well, obviously they need to get paid something, or at least come after him for like at least $5,000, saying that the initial invoice, the initial estimate should have been where we were at, so that they changed it midway, and we don't think that we should have had to pay $12,500, should have been $7,500, and so we think $5,000 should be refunded back to us. I'd be willing to do that, but it's one of those things I was telling my daughter the other day, because of course, since we're new to the area, I've been kind of learning our way around, trying to find out what places, like restaurants and stuff, are nearby. Because we had some places that we really liked to go quite a bit back there in Nashville. And so I looked up Chinese restaurants, like Chinese buffets, because there was one that was recommended called Super Buffet in Blue Springs. And I looked them up, and they didn't have like horrible ratings. Their rating was like 3.6 stars out of 5, and the comments in the reviews weren't terrible, but it was like they talked about how at the Super Buffet it's not just Chinese, but they have like some Mexican food and some American food, as well as Chinese food. And I was like, well, I've heard of places doing that, but when you're going there for Chinese, it's kind of weird, especially they said that it was like there's mostly like the staff was all like white people, there's no Asians in there at all, so it's not really very authentic probably. And so just exiting off here for a minute to do a quick pit stop. I'm probably about 40 say about 40 minutes from the Coffeeville hub, which that's another thing that's funny is normally cause I came back and I worked Sunday night. I was off technically Friday night, Saturday because of the 4th. Normally I'm off Saturday, but I came back in Sunday night. I ran Coffeeville that night, and then Monday afternoon on my wife's birthday. I wasn't planning to be available for when my mother-in-law was going to take my wife, my kids, and my grandkid out to dinner for my wife's birthday, because I figured I'm going to have to sleep after work. But then before I went to bed, my manager texted me. He was up, no Coffeeville tonight. The contractor that had the run initially said that they hired somebody and they said they're going to cover. He goes, but Lion Hall said that they could use you Tuesday to Friday. And I was like, huh, okay, so like we're no longer doing Coffeeville. He goes, he's like, we'll see. I was like, okay, well, don't get me wrong, I was really loving the consistency, like knowing what I was doing every day. I was like, do you think that at some point they'll probably fail on again, and we might end up back on it since we've been consistently running it for the past 2 weeks? He goes, yeah, I have a feeling. He goes, I have a feeling that that contractor might not hold on to it for very long. I was like, all right. He goes, yeah, but Lion Hall says they'll have work for you. They like working with you. They know you now. And I was like, cool, all right. I guess me having the work ethic that I do, I've been on it and been consistent the past 2 weeks. I'm here every night I'm supposed to be here. And so I guess that made an impression. So I was like, all right, well, I guess it'll be in Tuesday. So I was off last night. So I checked in with my manager today, and was like, so 1:30 or so tonight, right? He goes, yep. All right. I come in expecting, not knowing what to expect. Like, if I was gonna be, going to some random location, whatever. And I get like a mile away from the terminal, getting ready to come in. I think I was probably like 120 when I was getting close. It's like 2 miles down the street, my phone goes off, and it's I recognize it's like an 816 area code. So I'm like, oh cool, Lion Hall's probably calling me. So I'm like, hello. Hey, Mr. Blodge, how's it going? And I'm like, hey, sir, how are you? He goes, yeah, just, you coming in doing Coffeeville tonight? I'm like, I was like, I'm on my way in, but I was told that the other contractor that had the run, that they had taken it back over. He goes, well, we'll have 2 Coffeeville trailers for you in the next 10 minutes. Oh, okay, cool. I was like, I'm pulling in now. He goes, all right, copy that. We'll see, like, they'll be ready for you when you get in. I'm like, all right, sweet. So then I'm telling my wife, like, so apparently I have 2 Coffeeville trailers waiting for me. And she goes, I thought that other driver took it over. And I was like, that's what I was told. She goes, that's interesting. I was like, yeah. I was like, maybe something already happened, because it didn't sound like they were very dependable. Like, they hadn't had the same person on the run for a while. So they were like, it's very refreshing to see the same driver, every single day. And I'm like, well, I hope to be here every single day. I hope to be on this run, so that way it can be consistent, the paychecks can be consistent. I won't have to worry about what am I doing from day to day. So I told the wives that maybe something happened, and I was like, I kind of have a feeling that maybe I'll get a call or a text, within the next day or two, saying that we're back on it full time. And she goes, yeah, that'd be awesome. Like, yeah, I would, because like I don't even care so much about 6 days. I was like, as long as it's 5, because right now it's 4. It's Tuesday through Friday. So I mean, we'll see what happens with that, of course, but so my next steps with the moving fiascos will be to basically try to talk him down from the 4200. Be like, all right, guys, like, you guys gotta do better. I already technically told them, like, if we're gonna be the ones picking it up, that Planet Movers has to come down to 4200. That that just doesn't make sense. 4,200 for us to basically come down and do it ourselves, even though if that's where they stay, then interesting. I'm at the fuel island here at Love's, where I'm getting ready to go do a pit stop, and one of the trucks came in and they're pulling the wrong way through the fuel island. I'm like, you realize, like, technically you could go around the fuel island correctly and not go through the wrong way. It's like, what are you guys trying to do? And I assume maybe they're trying to set up so they can park one of the spaces, but it's like, yeah, but you guys could have done that by coming in and driving through the truck stop normally and stuff. So, oh well, you know, but anyway, I've rambled long enough for you guys, but just wanted to come on here, you know, technically got this recorded slightly late, but you know what I always say, guys, keep pushing forward, keep believing, believe you can, believe you will, and you're already halfway there, and then you just have to go out there and do it. And you know, again, I can't reiterate enough, guys, like if any of you out there, if you listen to this, are planning to move in the next near future, or, you know, not too long, then basically do not get an estimate over the phone. Basically, from what I understand, if you're hiring movers, then what they'll do is, actually, I looked up, I think it was United Van Lines. I went through, tried to get curious, so I was looking, trying to get an estimate from them, like how much they would have charged for what we did. And part of their stuff, you schedule a video. So instead of having somebody actually come to your place, or you walking through your home on the phone talking to somebody, you tell them what you have, like I did. Apparently, they have you schedule an actual video call, and I guess you would walk through your place, and they would be able to see what you have and give you, because they can do a visual, so they can actually say, okay, looks like you would need this size truck. You know, give you that actual complete estimate, you know, and so, or accurate estimate. But you know, so don't get an estimate over the phone. Make sure that who you're dealing with is actually the carrier and not somebody that can connect you with a moving company. Because it's like, why am I paying this one company when they're not even the ones that are going to be dealing with us? You know, like we initially did a payment to Starline Van Lines for the deposit, and then we had to do another payment to them because, of course, our estimate went up a couple of days prior when I did a walkthrough telling them what we had. And then Planet Movers then claimed that only half the truck is what we were allotted and stuff like that. So any estimates should not change in the middle of your moving process. If it does, that's scammy, that's illegal. I told the guy I was talking to yesterday that, you know, I was worried about telling them to offload my stuff, that we'll deal with it ourselves, and that they were gonna probably charge me. He goes, no, they legally could not do that. Like, they would have had to, you know, offload your stuff. I'm like, well, I would have had the cops show up and basically they're trying to steal my stuff. Like, we had an estimate, they loaded my stuff, but now they're trying to charge me this much. So I told them I don't want to utilize their services, but now they're saying they want to still have me pay them like $3,000 just to offload it. What can I do? Because they haven't left yet, you know. But so do not get an estimate over the phone. If you come across Starline Van Lines or Planet Movers, stay away. You know, I plan to do whatever I can. Like, once we get our stuff, especially once we get our stuff, I plan to blast the hell out of both those companies, like, everywhere I can. Follow negative reports online, mention them on Reddit, mention them on other locations online. Basically, you know, be like, look, like, you guys kind of fuck us over, so now, like, we're, you know, like, my wife, it's like, it's like, there's time, you know, we flip back and forth. There's times where I'm the one that's like, very, like, heated and fiery and whatever, and she's the one that just calming me down. But with this, like, I'm talking, hell, like, I don't know if she knew who I was talking to. I was talking to the movie guy who was having me email him the different estimates so he can look at them and tell me what he thought or whatever. I'm telling him, I had him on speakerphone, and I was telling him, yeah, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. We were dealing with this. In the background, my wife's yelling out, like, yeah, they did such and such, they fucking did this, whatever. And I was like, love, calm down. Like, you're right, but calm down. This isn't the Attorney General. This is another movie company, but this company's been in the business for like 25 years. You know, he's giving me some advice, whatever, and he's letting me know what they think about the invoices that we got and stuff like that. So it's like, I mean, she's totally right in being really pissed off and upset. There's nothing. I was like, nothing wrong with that at all. Totally legit. Totally. She totally has every right, you know. But anyway, I better go ahead and get in here and do this break really quick and get back on the road so I can get to Coffeeville, get this delivered. Really curious though about if I'm still gonna be on Coffeeville, because I came in tonight not knowing if I was gonna be running this load or the some random location, you know, some random hub. So I was surprised. We said, yeah, we got 2 Coffeeville trailers. What happened to the other guy that was supposed to be doing these? I was like, I'm willing to do them. Don't get me wrong. I want to be on this full time. But I was told the contractor took it back. So that's weird. So anyway, on that note, guys, I appreciate you. But stay tuned, because we'll have a raw chat coming up right after this. You guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the raw chat episode. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.